Do you know one of the best bits about this gig being on YouTube is you get sent stuff for free all the time. And you don't just get it for free, you get it before everyone else. So I cannot wait to get my hands on that Gl.iNet Mudi 7 travel router. I'm so prepped. I've got my systems all set up. I've got my little toy router to keep me company. I've even got a global SIM. I am so prepped. I'm just going to check where my system is. Wait, what? Right, screw it. That's it.
您在提取行李时，仔细核对行李票上的号码或名字，请勿拿错。Airport. Let's go. Taxi. Right, so, three things. Number one, no one has spent more time, energy or money getting hold of one of these than me. Two, I still don't understand why Chinese airlines don't have chopsticks. And three, I should have remembered my sodding SIM card. Hello and welcome back, and that's right, today I'm going to give you my first impressions of this, the Gl.iNet Mudi 7 5G Wi-Fi 7 SIM router. We have a full detailed review coming up on this very soon, but after the first 24 hours of utilising this device, I've got a lot of observations and things I want to talk about, and that's what this video is. It's not a full review, but it is pointers for those that are considering getting this right now, as it goes through early bird, early access, then first wave of pre-orders, second wave of pre-orders. The demand for this has been insane, hence this video. So many of you have wanted to know, while I've had this in the studio, just how good or bad this is. So let's go through the pros and the cons. Number one, this is going to be really churlish, but the case this arrives with. I'm really glad they included a travel case with this, because let's face it, more than any of their devices, this thing is built to be on the road. However, the case is both good and bad in equal measure. I like the quality of it. I actually don't think it's that badly put together, and it's got components there for all of the cables that you're going to need, all of the bits and bobs, maybe a battery pack, maybe some storage, but I will say, it is pretty snug in there, that case. Again, I get it, and there's no movement in transit, but I would have liked either a hard divide if you're going to go for a big case like this, or at the very least give me a half-size case, given that more than 50% of the space there is being utilised for accessories you may not need. And given the compact nature of this device, the build quality is fantastic. And I wouldn't need much of a case, maybe just a rubber slip around the end of this, as we've seen them do with other devices like that Comet Q we talked about a while ago. But still, I'm glad they include a case with the kit. I just think the kit could have done with a little bit more work. Next up, the design. I already alluded to it there. I absolutely chuffing love it. Notwithstanding the ports connections we'll talk about in a moment, I love that the majority of the kind of priority connections have all got caps on them. The 2.5 gig network port there, the external antennae connectors there, if you want to use them there at the top. They've all got covers on them. Indeed, if you want to get to the back, the battery pack, which is removable, by the way, is located there on the back. But as you can already tell from the way that flew off the back, I am not a fan of the back panel of this device. The rest of it feels real quality workmanship. The external, although there are bits of it that are plastic with metal inside, feels rugged, feels strong. But this back panel, which clips off with a little thing at the bottom with these little plastic teeth, this feels rubbish. And I'm pretty concerned that if you are removing the back that often, and you shouldn't really, but there are 2 SIMs in there, so you might be chopping and changing. I will say this little back panel I find quite poor quality. That said, my rather churlish complaints aside, everything else about it in terms of build quality, I love. The battery pack there being removable means if there is any problems or over time, if this does get too warm in some of the climates you go to or it starts expanding, you need to swap it out, it's so much easier. The dual SIM card slots there inside alongside eSIM support. Go to Klook, get a SIM, slam it in, bang, done. And all of the failover options along the way. Although I did observe that during my first 24 hours utilization, when I had an eSIM and a physical SIM, I didn't seem to be able to add that as a failover. And Gl.iNet's travel routers, indeed SIM routers, like for example the Gl.iNet, have got incredible failover for me to do a Wi-Fi repeat, a WAN connection, a USB tethered phone, and of course SIM cards inside. And you can have those all as failover or use them as load balancing. But I wasn't able to find an option that will allow me to use the eSIM and a physical SIM in the same failover manner. It's a very minor issue there, I would argue, but there's something to know. But as I reboot the device, I will add that in terms of software, it's still just as incredible as the rest of the Gl.iNet range. It is a travel router, sure, and travel routers, you can pick them up at any airport, but a travel router with 2.5 gig, 5G SIM support, Wi-Fi 7, 320 megahertz band connections, and a full comprehensive application suite that you find in any other app from this brand, whether that is the desktop mobile app, whether that is using Astro, whether that is using Good Cloud for remote access, whether that is using the full complement of OpenWRT services, they're all included in here, just like any of their other routers. It just happens to be also on a SIM LTE router. That is incredible. But you know what's less incredible? No support of MLO. Even though this has got 2.4, 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz connectivity there, you can't take advantage of multi-link operation. And I do mean in either respect to the word. Multi-link single radio or multi-link multi-radio, those are not an option here. And again, few users are ever really going to be utilizing that, but still it is a shame that it's a Wi-Fi 7 router without that feature or functionality included. Another thing that's worth highlighting is the 5G SIM support there. Now, if you are hoping to get hold of this to travel around the world, do bear in mind that unlike some of the more aggressive hardware inside the Gl.iNet, which is a much more expensive router, by the way, the 5G universal coverage here, the 5G band, is not equal region to region, North America to Europe and more. So do bear in mind that it is worth double checking that the SIMs or the eSIMs that you plan to use and the deployment of this, you should go to their own website where they have detailed every single currently covered band that you can use on this in 5G. If you're going to be using it in 4G areas, less of a problem, but just keep that in mind. Next up, we've got to talk about it, that screen control, because it ain't perfect, but I'll be honest, it's bloody close. It doesn't give the full features and functionality of using the app. It isn't truly headless, but everything from managing the individual connections, managing each of the individual users and their client devices, setting up failover, managing and changing the profile of the USB port there on the side, checking power utilization, battery utilization, flicking between different priorities of connections there. It's all managed. And managing the SMS and messages you're getting through to the device, switching between airplane, sorting out quality and priority of service for different things, managing just the hardware, CPU, memory, storage and more is all managed there on the screen. However, even though it has that screen there on the front, you can't manage captive portals that you might have on third-party Wi-Fi connections, whether it is on a plane, on a train, in a coffee shop or whatever. If you do try to connect to those and you have to use their HTTP etc. portal, you will need to use a client or a connected device in order to do that. You can't manage that on the screen. And I kind of understand why, notwithstanding the fact that it isn't a traditional 16:9 screen. But on top of that, it is the idea that the keyboard, when you are utilising it, when you really factor it in, takes up more than half of the screen on its own. So I kind of get why they're not doing that, to include a web browser that would really just be almost inoperable. But just keep that in mind. In some scenarios of third-party connections, you're not going to be able to use this as a completely clientless operation. And really everything else about this I'm going to leave for the main review as we go through our testing. Again, I like what I'm seeing here. If I had to niggle certain things that have changed, by the way, a lot of these in firmware updates in the time that I've played with this device, both over in China and here in the UK and in the US at the start of the year. Things like when I got a hold of it, SSH was enabled by default. Now again, that might be because it was the unit I received. If you've got a unit, do double check that for me. But I don't really like the idea of SSH connections being enabled by default. You can disable it easily, and maybe in newer firmware updates, or maybe a device that hasn't been sent or picked up from China like I have done with this, but still nonetheless do keep that in mind. Stay tuned for the full review very, very soon. If you had to ask me right now what I think of it, I absolutely chuffing love this thing, but until I finish my review, I'm not prepared to fully comment on that. But apart from that, if you're looking for a travel router, you're looking for a SIM router, you're looking for a router that can run on its own, and you're looking for comprehensive security control and management, as well as the ability to run apps and services and storage from everything like a remote NAS, a VPN gateway and more for a collection of devices all at the same time, there is almost nothing like this in the market right now. It does command a high price tag, and although some of the early access backer pricing at $279 for the very first backers of this project went up to $299, $319 and $369 down the road, it's a pricey device for a reason, I would say. Also, for those that are concerned in the US about the whole FCC ban thing, this had already passed FCC certification and therefore is not subject to that ban. So don't worry about that. There's links in the description to get a hold of it for yourself. We do get a commission here at the channel if you do use those links, but please only use those links if this video has been helpful, and if you're going to get hold of this device or others that, you know, this video may have helped you to get. Using those links is help you support creators like us in the most passive way, easy way possible, without putting your hand in your pocket for anything you don't need to. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the full video and the written review soon.